Scriptural basis for Jesus' return in Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. The return of Jesus is one of the most significant and widely anticipated events in the eschatology of Islam and Christianity, while also appearing in limited yet important contexts within Jewish thought. Across these three Abrahamic religions, the idea that Jesus will return before the end of time is rooted in sacred texts, prophetic traditions, and centuries of theological reflection. Though each religion understands the nature of his return differently, they all consider it a key moment in the unfolding of divine destiny. In Christianity, the second coming of Jesus Christ is a central doctrine. The New Testament clearly teaches that Jesus will return at the end of time to judge the living and the dead. Passages in the Gospels, the Acts of the Apostles, and the Book of Revelation all point to this future event. In Matthew 24, Jesus himself describes his return as visible, sudden, and glorious. He says, "They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." The Book of Revelation expands this imagery, portraying Jesus returning as a victorious king to defeat evil, cast Satan into eternal punishment, and establish God's kingdom. This return is not symbolic, it is expected to be literal, physical, and final. In Islam, the return of Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus, son of Mary, is not only affirmed but considered a major sign of the Day of Judgment. Although the Quran does not describe his second coming in detail, it does state in Surah An-Nisa 4:157-159 that Jesus was not killed or crucified but rather raised by God. Islamic hadith provide deeper insight. Numerous authentic narrations from Prophet Muhammad describe how Jesus will descend near the end of time, wearing garments dyed with saffron, supported by angels. He will land near the white minaret in Damascus, join the Muslims in prayer behind the Mahdi, and take up leadership in defeating the Dajjal false messiah. After restoring justice and correcting misunderstandings about his nature, he will live a normal life, marry, and eventually die. In Islam, Jesus is a prophet and servant of God, not divine, but his return is seen as critical to the final purification of faith. In Judaism, the figure of Jesus does not hold the same prophetic status. However, the concept of someone returning to fulfill divine expectations has some indirect echoes. Certain mystical Jewish texts, particularly in the Kabbalistic and apocalyptic literature, speak of historical figures returning in the Messianic age or being revealed in the end times. While traditional Judaism does not support the idea of Jesus returning, the broader theme of divine vindication and final truth emerging in the last days shares common ground with other traditions. Though differing in theology, all three religions point to a climax in human history where truth will be revealed, and divine justice will prevail. The return of Jesus, whether as Son of God, Prophet, or Redeemer, is viewed as a sign that the world has reached its final and most decisive moment. Purpose and role of Jesus in his second coming. The second coming of Jesus is not merely an event of appearance, it is a mission of divine purpose. In each of the three Abrahamic religions, his return is associated with specific duties and consequences that shape the destiny of humanity. Though the interpretations differ greatly between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, the return of Jesus is universally portrayed as a pivotal moment, where the divine will is finally established and falsehood is brought to an end. In Christianity, the return of Jesus is primarily associated with judgment and eternal justice. Christians believe that Jesus will return to raise the dead, judge all souls, reward the righteous, and punish the wicked. According to the New Testament, this will happen at the end of the world. Jesus is seen as the divine Messiah and Son of God, who came once as a suffering servant and will return as a conquering king. His second coming will usher in the resurrection of the dead, the final judgment, and the beginning of a new heaven and new earth. The role of Jesus is to separate good from evil and to destroy all forces of rebellion, including the Antichrist and Satan. For Christians, his return marks the fulfillment of all promises and the eternal establishment of God's kingdom. In Islam, Jesus' return serves as a correction to false beliefs and as a final act of leadership before the Day of Judgment. According to Hadith literature, Jesus will descend at a time of great turmoil, during the rule of the Mahdi, and after the emergence of the Dajjal false Messiah. His primary task will be to kill the Dajjal, thereby ending his reign of deception. Jesus will then break the cross, kill the swine, and abolish the jizya tax, symbolic acts meant to correct misunderstandings about his identity. In Islam, Jesus is not divine, nor is he the Son of God. He is a prophet and servant of Allah, and his second coming affirms the oneness of God. Jesus will rule with justice, promote Islam as the final message, and live as a righteous leader among the people. After his mission is complete, he will die naturally and be buried. In Judaism, Jesus is not regarded as the Messiah or a prophetic figure. Therefore, traditional Judaism does not include a role for Jesus in its end-time expectations. However, Jewish eschatology does anticipate the coming of the true Messiah, who will be a descendant of David, rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, and restore the kingdom of Israel. Some mystical Jewish traditions speak of figures returning in the end times for final acts of redemption, but these do not include Jesus and are not central to Jewish belief. Despite these differences, all three faiths see the end times as a period of decisive intervention, where truth is clarified, evil is defeated, and divine justice is made visible. The role of Jesus, whether central or absent, reflects each religion's view of prophecy, salvation, and the final destiny of mankind. Signs, sequence, and global impact of Jesus' return. The return of Jesus is not expected to happen in isolation. Across Islam and Christianity, his second coming is part of a broader sequence of events filled with warning signs, trials, and cosmic transformations. These signs are not merely markers of time but indicators of the moral and spiritual condition of the world. Though the details differ across traditions, the common theme remains: the return of Jesus will occur at a moment of global crisis, and it will forever change the course of human history. In Islam, the return of Jesus is preceded by both minor and major signs of the hour. Among the major signs is the emergence of Al-Masih ad-Dajjal, a false messiah who will deceive people through fake miracles and claim divinity. The world will be filled with injustice, corruption, and confusion. At this point, Jesus will descend from the heavens near the white minaret in Damascus. He will join the believers, led by the Mahdi, and take part in prayers before assuming leadership. Jesus will confront and kill the Dajjal near Lud, in present-day Palestine. Following this, Gog and Magog will emerge, spreading destruction. Jesus will pray to God, and divine intervention will destroy them. After these events, peace and justice will prevail. Jesus will rule justly, break false beliefs, and eventually die a natural death. His return is a global turning point, restoring monotheism and preparing humanity for the final judgment. In Christianity, the return of Jesus is preceded by various signs and tribulations described in the Gospels and the Book of Revelation. These include wars, famines, natural disasters, widespread immorality, and the rise of false prophets. One of the most critical figures is the Antichrist, a leader who will deceive many and demand worship. During this period, known as the Great Tribulation, believers will face severe persecution. Then, the skies will darken, the stars will fall, and Jesus will return on the clouds with great power and glory. His return will be visible to all. He will defeat the Antichrist, raise the dead, and judge all souls. For Christians, This moment is the culmination of salvation, the end of suffering, and the beginning of eternal peace. It will impact every nation, religion, and individual on earth. In Judaism, the return of Jesus is not part of eschatological expectation. However, traditional Jewish thought speaks of signs before the arrival of the Messiah. These include the rise of conflicts, the moral decline of humanity, and the gathering of exiles. The Messianic age will begin after this period, marked by peace, justice, and spiritual awakening. While Jesus is not acknowledged as part of this timeline, the concept of a final Redeemer shares some thematic parallels with Christian and Islamic expectations of a transformative end-time figure. The return of Jesus where accepted signals a dramatic reversal of human failure, exposing falsehood, and restoring divine truth. Whether viewed through prophecy, theology, or moral vision, his return is portrayed as the most profound global event in human history, reshaping beliefs, ending injustice, and ushering in the final chapter of creation.